BBC News, Paris.
Well, now my guest in Brussels is Sajjad Karim, a Conservative politician who's the first British Muslim in the European Parliament and a man with personal experience of terrorism. He was trapped in the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel in Mumbai at the time of that attack and massacre in 2008. Thank you for joining us on BBC News. You know the power of terror and the threat of terror. What do you make of the way people have reacted to these killings?
Well, first of all, of course, all of our thoughts are with all of the victims and their families in this absolute tragic situation that they are currently having to face. So far as reactions are concerned, I'm very pleased to be able to see that rather than actually divide on this, Europeans right across Europe, whether it's in France, in Germany, in Italy, Spain and the United Kingdom, have decided to come together and give a sign of unity.
You said that for once majority Muslim reactions are penetrating the media wall. Tell us more of what you mean by that.
For many years now, there has been a real feeling amongst Muslim people that their view about such things simply doesn't get out into the wider media. For far too long, it has been those that have been willing to give expressions of extremism that have been given a majority of the airtime, sometimes to the absolute exclusion to the vast majority of Muslims who, in fact, are contributing members of European and British society. They are people who are building on the very core fabric that gels us all together. But here you have a clear demonstration of a terrorist attack that's been carried out in France, but yet you see extremist politicians over the last 24 hours or so, people like Marine Le Pen, Geert Wilders, Nigel Farage have been trying to say that this is down to immigration, this is down to the diversity of Europe, and that simply is not the case. And all of their representations are simply adding to the sentiments that are being expressed in a very anti-Islamic way on the streets of some cities in Germany, and indeed there has been attacks on mosques taking place in Sweden. So this is actually a very dangerous time, and this is a time for us to stand as one and become united, and the European people have chosen that as our direction rather than to divide in the way that some extremists would want us to.
How do you sustain that constructive debate, given that right now people are shocked, they are emotional, they are of course sympathetic to the loss of life here? As you get further down the road into political debate and the political culture, how do you sustain that sense of openness you're talking about?
Well, it's absolutely essential that we don't lose sight of the fact that in a very sad way, actually, this is not the first time that we have suffered such an atrocity. I remember very clearly when the London underground bombings took place. Immediately after that, we had a coming together throughout the United Kingdom, and I see exactly that happening in France today. And it is important that those voices on the extremes that are trying to identify the Islamic communities of Europe as being responsible for this, or trying to say that it's down to multiculturalism, as Nigel Farage did in the United Kingdom, or trying to say that this is down to immigration, as once again Geert Wilders and Nigel Farage and Marine Le Pen have done. They need to be recognising the fact that actually the perpetrators who we are seeking at this moment in time are French-born and raised in France, and therefore it is essential that all of us come together and actually deal with this in terms of the reality rather than the poison that is being spouted by the extremes. And indeed, that is the very reaction that those extremists that carried out this atrocity want Europeans to go down, and we refuse to do that.
One of the realities that you're talking about is that there will be other young men like these two brothers who are either would-be jihadis or may have returned from Syria or Iraq and reject what France, the UK, other Western societies stand for. What should be done differently to tackle them, the threat that they pose?
Well, there's a number of measures that need to be put in place, and We did today, from European Union level, make an announcement that we will come forward very quickly with a new set of proposals as to how we can better ensure that our member states are working much more closely together on sharing intelligence that we have. And indeed, we do have a very real problem of large numbers of European citizens who are making their way to places like Syria, like Iraq, indeed even Libya, in order to partake in activities in those places. And of course, when they, if and when they return to Europe, they don't come back empty-handed. They come back with knowledge that they have gained whilst they have been out there. And these people pose a very real danger to us. And therefore we need to have a policy in place right across the European Union that allows us to monitor and track those people, and also to share amongst our member states intelligence in relation to them, and where possible, wherever necessary, we actually stop them from leaving their individual member state, or indeed from having free movement once they return.
Sajjad Karim, thank you very much for joining us
on
BBC News. Thank you.